Now it's recording. Even though we're early, I think it's going to be early or late. I have been late before. And then I'm going to let you kind of move it around yourself because that's where it's going to need to be. But you can see how it's set. Sometimes like they stand up and my cut the heads off if you don't move it up. But you just play with it no time you want. And all that today. So I'm ready to do it. It's mega. But I love it.
How are you?
Closer than that works on it other than Fayetteville. I love it.
Progress.
It's not as smooth as the camera people, but then again, I'm not either. So.
I had sent an email down. Okay, it's Eddie. Just good. Eddie's familiar with the operation here. He's covered it for a while, so it's really good to be able to step in. Unless you have somebody in the other office to be able to pick up this line. I mean, I know what you're going through those days and answering your own phone. Some days are better than others.
Now, this one was top two are long-winded. That is. Those are long-winded. That one's worse than that one. I still have no idea. We should have started this at 8:30 and we'd have got
So sharing food. Yeah.
I left my mom.
Gary is cheap.
Good morning. This is July 20th, 2012. Welcome to the Quorum Court meeting. Having your cell phones, I'll ask you to please turn them off. And let's do this in a respectable manner. For our invocation today, I'll ask my pastor, Brother Fred Blevin, if he would say our prayer for us.
Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to stand in behalf of my Savior. I pray that you'll be with this court as they deal with the people that they serve. Make them as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. Help us each day of our life, all of us, to leave an example that be depicting of our Lord. Forgive me the many sins that I have in my life and glorify my Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Jimmy, would you do that, please?
Mr. Blackburn?
Here.
Mr. Deaton?
Here.
Mr. Flake?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Howerton?
Here.
Mr. McNeely?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Mumma?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Ritchie?
Here.
Mr. Swafford?
I think we have 10 present. One absent. Next item of business is disposition of journal proceedings. Approval of the previous minutes. Do we have any additions or changes?
I'll move we approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Ron moved to approve, John second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item of business is public comments. The time limit is 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak in the public? If not, we'll move on to miscellaneous. This is going to be a real lengthy meeting today, and Sheriff Dr. Goody is the first one. I'd like to ask him to try to hold them for 10 minutes because there'll be lots of questions after. Sheriff?
Well, first of all, the meeting's going to be shortened because Eddie made a mistake when I was asked to put on the agenda. I want to go over my mid-year report, then 911. But since he didn't put it in the mid-year report, I'll forego that part. We'll just go with the 911. Like I said, I was going to ask me questions. But at the last Quorum Court meeting, there was some discussion brought up about 911, and as I said at the last meeting, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I'm going to use this meeting, and I invited Arabac and St. John's or Mercy to be here to be able to ask any question you may have regarding what we're attempting to do. First of all, let me give you a little history and background. Our operation is not just a 911 operation. We are a 911 operation and dispatch. What happens is that if a 911 call comes in and it requires a response by the police department, then those calls are transferred and they do the dispatching for the police officer. Usually a 911 operation, strictly operation, is not doing dispatching. They're referring the calls to the departments that are doing the fire department, the police department, or the medical. The only one we dispatch for everybody in Carroll County except for Eureka Springs, the police department. And the reason we don't dispatch for them is about 5 years ago, when we set up the 911, the funding for the establishing of the 911 center, not just the dispatching, police dispatching, but the 911 center, came from the 911 franchise tax and the sales tax. Eureka Springs was doing their own dispatching. When we were setting up the central 911 dispatch, they wanted to maintain their own dispatch. We went to court because they wanted to share the money that we got for the taxes paid for their dispatch. The courts ruled that if Eureka Springs wanted their own dispatch, they would have to pay for that trunk line, which was about $15,000 a year. They did not want to do that, so therefore we could do all the dispatching for them. But I gave Eureka Springs the option. I said, even though we're going to be 911, do you want to dispatch your own police? Do you want to dispatch your own fire? Do you want to dispatch your own medical? They opted to let us do the dispatching except for the police. So if a 911 call comes in for Eureka Springs Police Department, the call comes to our center, we just touch screen and we transfer the call to the Eureka Springs dispatch, and they do their own dispatching. Because everybody has the right, to do their own dispatching. And for example, if Parago or Green Forest decided they want to do their own dispatching, it's their right to do that. The only thing is, they would not be receiving any tax money to set up any kind of a line telephone system where 911 calls go to that. All 911 calls would still have to come through our office, and then we would transfer the calls to them. And also, I think about 5 years ago, we had a very similar meeting regarding 911 and memberships out at Holiday Island. And when we met out there, there was a lot of confusion then about the dispatching. And the bottom line, when we got finished with that meeting, it will be the closest available helicopter. That's going to be the policy. And when I say the closest available helicopter, I'm not talking about distance, I'm talking about ETA times, response times. And that is going to be the guide as to what we're going to use to dispatch helicopters or medical flights. And I know concerns about memberships, and I want everybody to understand, I am a member of Aerobac myself. However, I I don't want my dispatchers to be in a position to say, okay, one helicopter has this ETA time, but your membership has a longer ETA time, but since you're a member, we're going to send them one that has the longest ETA time. That puts the county and my dispatchers in a very serious problem. A liability that if we were to dispatch strictly on membership, and that delay in time, where we're talking about 15 or 20 minutes, results in the person dying, then there's going to be some very serious liability. We will consider memberships, but we're going to wait for the professional that's at the scene, the medic, to determine if that time's going to make any difference at all. And what we normally do, if the call comes in for a helicopter, it's not coming from, say, Jack Dean or from one of the paramedics. Say our officers responded to a bad break on the highway, they said we need a helicopter. Our dispatch will contact both services, Duravac or the Mercy, and determine who has the best ETA time. Then we, in turn, we notify the paramedics as to the ETA time, and we will dispatch the closest available helicopter. Now, if somebody calls in and says, I have a membership, we will consider that. And we will contact the membership and find out what the ETA time is. Then we transfer the information to the paramedics who are en route to the location. If they get there, for example, say one has a 45-minute ETA time, and the paramedics arrive on scene, they find 45 minutes, we can't wait 45 minutes. And if another service is closer, well, then we're going to call it a closer service. But that cannot be a decision of my dispatchers because of the liability. That is something the medical professional has to make. Because they're the ones on scene. They're just sitting there in the dispatch room. The only thing they know is what's coming to them by landline or over the radio. So they cannot make that decision as to what needs to take place in the field. And I personally, even though if I have my grandchildren are out or my family or my wife, and there's a serious medical problem, and I got a choice, one, I'm going to ask for the closest one, even though I may have the membership. Now I just hope my wife feels the same way about me. Now why we're doing this, I think some time ago we were talking about the emergency medical dispatch and the importance of it, because there may be some calls that come in where the dispatcher, through their knowledge of medical procedures and so forth, may be able to give the caller some information to maintain a person's life until the professional show up. We've been having a very difficult time doing it because the first time we tried it, we ended up with the flip cards. And flip cards are just a major problem to flip through the cards to find a medical problem based on the caller. And then you have to maintain those flip cards. And then the other problem we have is we have a constant turnover. So our people will be in a constant turnover, constant training status. And so we're going to be into an automated system. We finally got the software to do it. And again, I want to make clear, this is only for the eastern part of the county. The western part of the county is not involved in this at all. And the reason is that the eastern part of the county is because St. John's or Mercy is the one that does all the ambulance service for the eastern part of the county. And plus they have the lifeline. So I was approached by, excuse me for looking at the note, but I just felt that this was important to make sure that I cover everything. That I was approached by Mercy for them to do their own dispatch. Just like the Region Springs does their own dispatching of their police. They have a right to dispatch their own equipment and their own people. So we had a discussion, we sat down, we talked about it, and I thought that our dispatchers and the captain, we got together and said, okay, would this be a benefit to the people of Carroll County? And here are the benefits. Mercy has the state-of-the-art dispatch in Springfield. Their dispatchers have a lot of professional experience and training. They all have the EMD training. They have the automated assistant. by having them work with us, it's going to be a partnership that we're going to be doing. It's like us having another dispatcher in the dispatch unit where they can be handling the medical calls that are coming in. It is of no cost to the county. Another benefit is they're going to provide us with one of our laptop computers where in their CAD system, the CAD system is the computer-aided dispatching, where we will have a screen mounted on the wall where it tracks where their ambulances are at any time. And they're going to be providing us their laptop as well as their... Because one of the problems that has come up in the past, and especially when we're going through the contract talks about ambulance service for the eastern part of the county, we're talking about transfers and so forth. This way, with St. John's working with us and doing the emergency dispatching, the medical dispatching, they have better control of their ambulances. And I'll let them speak about it later, but this way, because we get a complaint, their ambulances are not available. They're out of the county, they're doing transfers. This way, by working with them and partnering with them and doing the dispatching, we can assure the people of the eastern part of Carroll County that there will be an ambulance available. Because right now, if they're not available, the only thing we can do, we can call Eureka Springs, have them dispatch an ambulance, we can call Harrison, or we have to call Shelnout, whatever, to get an ambulance here. This way, we're going to be providing a better service to the people of Carroll County. And before I did this, St. John's provided me with a list of 15 police departments and sheriff offices in Missouri. They are where they're currently doing their own dispatching. I contacted all 15 departments, and every one of them said it was an excellent idea. They would not change it, that they're very, very happy with the service. They have not had any complaints. And I think the only one that differed from the others is a location where I think both Mercy and Airbag had helicopters that are almost at the same location, and they are the only two that provide service to their community, and they have them on a rotation basis. Because they're right there, they're going to know who has a helicopter, who doesn't have a helicopter, so it's not a rotation basis. But all the others, they were very happy with it. And again, the departments I called were either those who were strictly a 911 center and those who also were a 911 center and also a police dispatch. There was no negative feedback from any one of these departments. And the last thing I want to say before I turn it over to questions, or if Airback or Mercy wants to make a statement, is that I was quite concerned when I had heard feedback that one of them or both of them maybe misstated their ETA times in order to get that flight. I can only say I have been the sheriff now for almost 6 years. I have never had a complaint on either one of them about the service that they're providing to people in the county. I have never had anybody ask me to go back and check our records to see if somebody misstated or falsified an ETA. And I think they can tell you that either one of them would be in a very serious problem situation if that had ever occurred, because everything is automated. We can look at this when a call comes in and we call for an ambulance. That call, when they receive it, is put into our automated system. When they give us an ETA, that is entered into the automated system. When they land at the site, that time is put into the system. So if anybody ever had a concern or a complaint, that information is available to them, and everybody knows that. So it would be really, it's unfortunate for anybody who had even made that allegation. So again, I just want to give you a little introduction and a little background. And we have members of Airback and we have members from Mercy here. So ask us any questions.
Would you just run through the sequence of how things happen? You said that Mercy will be handling Eastern Part. Run through a sequence of how that happens.
If we get a 911 call for medical, okay, for Eastern part of the county, because Mercy handles the Eastern part of the county for ambulance service. We in there have, just like we do with Eureka Springs Police, we have a touch screen, and we transfer that call to their dispatch. And they do the dispatching. We have the option, we can stay on the line with them, or we can just transfer the call. But we will always have the open communication with them. And again, this is only for the eastern part of the county.
And do you have a line that divides east and west?
Usually, I think we can use the Kings River as that dividing line for the east and the west.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I understand, I talked to Captain Hoots earlier, you have the option of staying on the line. You're going to be the one that dispatches first responders, or is Mercy going to dispatch?
We're doing, no, we do, the only thing they're going to be dealing with is going to be with
Their unit.
their units and the helicopter. Everything else is being done with us. And the thing is, it's really another benefit to us. Like I said, it's like having a free dispatcher there, because there are times when, if we have an emergency, that we have to clear the net, because we cannot take any calls from the police, run tags, run criminal checks, because we're tied up in an emergency. This gives us, like I said, another dispatcher in there where we can still handle some other phone calls that are coming in.
Sheriff, you mentioned that the CAD system will track the ambulances. Does it also track the choppers?
If I may, sir.
Sure.
My name's first off, my name is Sonny Saxo. I'm the communications center manager at Mercy. And to answer that question, one of the upgrades that we've done in preparation for this transition is to put automatic vehicle locators in our ambulances, as well as a mobile dispatch screen. And we can talk more about that process in a minute, but so that the ambulances themselves can be seen moving around the county in that screen. Helicopters, no, but if the ambulance was assigned to an incident in the county and a helicopter was coming to that, their dispatcher will absolutely know exactly where the aircraft is, exactly where the ambulance is. And so I think the best way to say this is Mercy's trying to do this the right way, and trying to make sure that we have a right partnership with not just sheriff here, but all of our sheriffs. And we take that responsibility very seriously. So,
Thank you, Sonny.
thank you, sir.
And the thing that I want to stress is that I know somebody may have raised the issue of competition for the medical flight, so forth and so on, but what we're doing here, this is really a partnership with Airback and with St. John's to provide the people of Carroll County the best medical service that we can. And I think by the changes that we're going to make, we can improve a great deal. I think we have seen some advantages already to doing this. And so, again, we're open to everybody if they have any issues. And I only ask it in the future that if somebody has a question about what we're doing, I would prefer they come and ask the sheriff rather than ask somebody on the street, because I was really amazed at some of the information that was coming back through others. And what disappointed me is that when I tried to explain to the person that the information they had was incorrect, they look at me, so that's what they're telling me. But I'm telling you, it's not happening that way. And again, I think this is an excellent opportunity for Carroll County to provide medical service to the people. And I would say that when you contact 15 departments that they're already doing this for, and everybody is very positive about it. And the other question I asked St. John's, I said, well, tell me about those cases where you set up the system and they asked to change and go back to the old way. None of that has happened. Nobody that has entered into this partnership with them has said after about a while that it's working, that we don't want to do it anymore. It's not working. And that's another nice thing about it. We can pull the plug at any time that we want. This is not a contract. It's not a concrete. This is the way we're doing things from now on. This we can change at any time if we find out that it's not working properly. But like I said, I think with the partnership with all three of us, I think we're providing a better medical service to people of Carroll County.
Yeah.
Sheriff, this is more or less just to clear the air, and say Linda's here and some of the press. And you've had several discussions. And your comment about the west side was not going to change at all, and then your comment talked about the closest helicopter again. And what we're asking out of dispatch. We do not want them to put their necks out on line. We ask for them to give us a timeline. I have no problem. I work with Mercy. I see some of the guys back there. I talk to them all the time. They've got a great system. Airvac's got a great system. 70% of my response area are Airvac members. Most trauma cases, I don't even worry about that. We have a lot of medical calls that does require helicopters. And timeline, sometimes if we discuss this, the tone goes off, my guys are there in 3 to 5 minutes. Eureka Springs is anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. If the helicopter's 25 minutes out, they're still within our time frame. Because by the time the ambulance gets on the scene, stabilizes what they can do, load the patient, get to the LZ, we're still within that 25 to 30 minute timeline. And that was the main thing I want. I'm not asking the dispatch to stick their necks out and make a decision. All we're asking out of them is to give us the timelines. And if everybody, and my goal is to save everybody's life and try not to bankrupt them. But if it comes down to it, I'm going to bankrupt them if I have to. It's very expensive to ride a helicopter these days. Everybody knows that. And some insurance companies are covering and some not. But as far as working with the dispatch, if this stays like it is now on the west side, and you mentioned in your newspaper article, the first one you said a medic, the second article come out, it said a medical person. And so medics usually don't get there until 20 minutes into it. But EMTs are there within 3 to 5 minutes. And a lot of times with the information that your dispatch gives us, we can make a decision whether the helicopter needs to be lifted off. And both helicopters, you told me before, we'd rather be halfway there and not needed than still sitting on the ground you need us. And that's the way we are, and it's worked great for us. And I like that the press to understand that so people don't understand what's going on.
And the thing is, all I am saying is that my dispatchers are not going to make that decision for the call. That our decision is going to be based on the feedback that we're getting from the medical personnel on the scene. If a time frame, if one doesn't matter because we're looking at preparing a patient for flight, taking them to the LZ somewhere so they can be picked up, that maybe that difference in time is going to be eaten up by the medics at the scene. So we're going to be relying on the medical professionals to tell us whether or not that time delay is going to make a difference. You're going to make the call, we're not. Because if I was to let my dispatchers make that call, for medical, and as a result, 10, 15, 20 minutes makes a difference, and we lose that patient, we know exactly what's going to be happening to the county. So therefore, we won't make a decision, but we trust the people, the professionals who are at the scene, to give us the guidance and tell us what needs to be done.
Well, that's all should have. On your lines, I understand, and I agree with you 100% because the dispatchers, only information they get is what they're hearing. A lot of times what you hear and what you see when you get there is entirely different. It can be bad or worse either way. And so that is the best attention, I think, for everybody concerned.
Does anybody have any questions for Airvac or for Senator?
Sure, I have a question. You mentioned earlier that Mercy was going to be responsible for the east side.
Yes.
Now, is that just strictly for ground ambulance, or is that for air and ground?
Well, it's going to be for the ambulance service, but they're directly tied into the medical flight.
Okay, how about the west side then?
Nothing changes on the west side.
So it's basically the way it always has been. Okay, looking at it being, the service being split, so if you have a call, and it's a slow day air ambulance line, and there's an even ETA, you know what I mean? Are you going to go east-west? How? Or is there going to be any mechanism to make that determination?
The only thing the dispatcher does, if the call, like, for example, we're just discussing with Jack, because of his medical background and his professional people who respond on the scene. If they tell us that the member is with a Airvac and we give them an ETA at that time, it's fine, then that's what's going to be dispatched. If we don't have a membership, we're just talking about the call that comes in or helicopter service is needed, my dispatchers will contact each one to see who has a ETA. That information is then relayed to them, and they make the decision as to which one is going to be, taking the call. And I think there's some information I think that it's important that each of them, as far as the partnership that they have with Airvac and how they have shared this responsibility over the years, and there's not one person grabbing up all the business and there's somebody else is being pushed aside.
If it's okay, Judge, probably ought to maybe introduce the process that this involves the dispatching side of the 911 call. So we're doing a lot of talk, I realize, about the aircraft, but mainly this is an ambulance dispatch issue that came up. So the 911 call still comes in, just like Sheriff said, into the 911 center. That doesn't change, and we wouldn't propose to change that. It comes into the 911 to the Sheriff's office. They ask address and phone number, and then if it's a medical emergency on the area that's already served by Mercy, the ambulance area, they would transfer it to our center. And I say transfer, but we're all on the line together. And so really we're offering that extra additional dispatcher to the line that today the community doesn't have that. And so we bring to bear our communication center experience. And to talk real briefly, sir, about that, the center that we have in Springfield, it happens to be based in Springfield, Missouri, but it's a nationally accredited center. We're one of 163 in the world that's nationally accredited by Emergency Medical Dispatch, and to do that, so that's quite an honor. But really, that honor comes from reviewing every single phone call that comes in, looking at quality indicators, doing the right thing, and answering the groups and making sure we do the right thing. So that's part of this. Okay. So that nationally accredited center, we've got people in there that are EMTs, that are paramedics, that are emergency medical dispatch trained. So and that's all they do. They just do medical. So we're trying to offer that resource to the sheriff and to the community. But again, that I can't help with the western side just because I don't have the Mercy assets there. And so this is about the Mercy ambulance on the east side and dispatching those ambulances. And to get back to the question then, at the point at hand, the aircraft piece of it, we've met with Airback and we work with them. Quite frankly, we've worked for many years and we both acknowledge that. I think we're still on the same page. Judy and I have talked this morning. This is really not an issue about which aircraft you call. And I apologize for not coming earlier and talking to you about that. But certainly we want to try to simplify the process, and I think we can do that. And I think we can do that safely. And really, this is all about the patient, right? We're very focused on doing the right thing for the patient, as is Airback, as is the sheriff. So. Yeah, I think Judy should say something.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Judy Dye, Regional Director of Base Operations with Airback. Sonny's right, we did meet this morning to kind of review all of the issues that have developed, and I would certainly want to support the fact that this is not a which helicopter to call issue in Carroll County. I certainly support what Mercy does and the benefit that they bring to Carroll County with their emergency medical dispatch instruction. I think that's going to be wonderful for the county. Another benefit is that you do have 3 aircraft with our Springdale and Harrison aircraft, as well as the Lifeline Mercy aircraft that's available to Carroll County. A lot of our counties across Arkansas don't have the benefit of that support. So we'd like to explain that we do work together. Oftentimes we may both be on the same team together. So our ability to work together and do it safely is paramount. Our communication centers are very closely connected and do communicate back and forth. They certainly want to respect the memberships that Airback has in the community, particularly at the Holiday Island on the west side of the county. And I think that they're going to want to do what's best for the patient every time. Certainly the single most important factor here is patient care. Like you said, Chief, we want to, we'll bankrupt somebody if we have to, and we want to support that too. Patient care becomes the priority in all situations. But we want to work together to do what's right for the patient. If they have memberships, Mercy will certainly honor those if time allows us to do that. We want to work together to make sure that we're doing right for the citizens of Carroll County. We're here as a resource to this community. We have 108 bases in our service area in 15 different states. That's what we do is the air part. We partner with our ground support unit, and so that would be Mercy on the east side. And so we want to understand that we will work hand in hand with them in situations. We trust the fact that they're going to do what's right for the patient and call whoever's closest to the scene, whether it be one of the Airback aircraft or one of the Mercy Lifeline aircraft. We also have the ability, and I would encourage, like the sheriff mentioned, that the ETAs were given as incorrect. I would encourage anybody that's working in the field with us, if you get misinformation that very day, you need to contact either AREVAC or Mercy, and let's visit about those times right after that call so we can clarify any miscommunication, because it's important for us to give you correct information, because you're basing your decisions about do we stay there or do we transport to a local hospital based on the information that we give you, and it should be accurate. And so if we're not accurate, we need to be held accountable for that, and I would encourage you to get in contact with us so that we could review that specific case and find out what sort of issue may have happened at that point. So I certainly want to apologize to the court for any confusion that might have been brought forth where this was an issue about which helicopter to call. You have great assets available to your community, and we look forward to working with Mercy if the county makes the decision to move forward, having Mercy do the ambulance dispatching on the east side of the county. I'll entertain any questions that you might have for Eric.
What we've been talking about so far is kind of routine, if you want to call it routine. Are there any special provisions for a major disaster? Colorado, Columbine kind of thing. What happens in the big?
We actually were talking about that this morning, and right now we have situations where there may be multiple people that are involved in an accident that require air transport. So we're currently doing that today. In Joplin, we worked together with multiple aircraft on that tornado that they had come through there. So our dispatch centers are in regular communication with one another, air to air. The aircraft and the pilots on board the aircraft talk to each other. We're in communication with the ground services that are involved. So we've not seen any issues with that. Sonny, you may have more to add on the comm center side.
Yeah, good point. And then one benefit that I think we bring to the community, and I know Sheriff already hit on this, but the communications center has a regional view of all the ambulance assets that are available in southern Missouri. I know the press has been great about pointing that out as well, but we've so we can bring that to the community. So God forbid something like that.
I'm sensing that AREVAC has no apprehensions about this change whatsoever.
I believe that we can work well with Mercy. We have a trusting relationship, and I think that Mercy wants to do what's right for the patients, and so we want to do what's right for the patient. And that's what this is all about. Truly, it is.
Dan?
Thanks, Judge. This is related to the subject, but a little bit off topic. But since we have the CEO of our hospital here, we have both helicopter AREVACs and Western Carroll County Ambulance District and law enforcement. Maybe this has come up before my time on Quorum Court, but do we coordinate, do we have mass casualty exercises where all of you work together? And how often do we do that? Because that's just something we don't think about that much here in little Carroll County, but it can certainly happen.
We've had some NIMS exercises in the past. We haven't had them recently, but we've had some NIMS exercises in the past.
My background, as you know, is military, and we used to practice that on a recurring basis. Of course, different situations, major Air Force installations and all that. In big cities, a little bit different here in Carroll County. But I would encourage all our professionals, when time and resources allow, and organizations allow, it's something that for the benefit of the county we should take a serious look at in practice once a year.
We would support that. We do that in a lot of areas. We belong to the committees where they do the planning for those types of disaster drills, and we participate. We can transport mock patients from scenes to hospitals. So that's something that we routinely do across all of our service area, and be happy to do it in Carroll County.
I would encourage you.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I support that as well. And I might just mention that I know in the past, you've probably seen my director, Bob Patterson. The reason why he's not here today is because he's in Maryland at a NIMS training out there for the week. So I apologize. That's the only reason why he wasn't able to be here to talk to show.
There'd be time well spent and relationships formed and coordination paths established to pay off with that.
Jeff?
One thing, Nancy, that I have coordinated some mass casualty incidents in the past that we're behind right now. Captain Newsom and I talked about that. We need to do another one real soon. And John, here, talk to yours. The membership deal we talked about earlier is mainly geared towards medical calls. Trauma calls, I've been involved in one here a while, it's been a while back. We call dispatch, said we need 3 ambulances, that's it. You know, we don't care who they are, you get the 3 quickest ambulances. This particular one, we got 2 airbags and 1 Mercy on the ground in a very short time. So Carroll County is in pretty good shape as far as stuff like that. Because we don't worry about, like I said, the memberships that we kind of argue about all the time is mainly medical calls, cardiacs, strokes, something like this. If it's a mass casualty or a possible mass casualty, depends on mechanism of injuries on traffic accidents. We don't worry about it, we just call them, tell them we need this many, and dispatch goes right down the line. Does a good job. And we get the people there, and we give an LZ, and the coordinator sets up, and we can all talk to each other on several different channels on radios. It goes pretty well.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Just tell me, Marty, let me get my mid-year report now.
I was pretty wow about that.
We can
Next item of business under miscellaneous, Mr. Dave Ivan, Carroll County Airport. Dave.
Morning, gentlemen. Thank you for seeing us. It's always great to start a presentation with an invitation, and we would like to, the Airport Commission would like to make a formal invitation for you on September 21st, which is after your meeting in September, to come out to the airport. We're going to put a full spread change and feed on, and we'd like to furnish lunch for you guys whenever you're finished. Part of the reason we'd like to do that is so that you can see the increased expansion. I'm going to use the term business because I view the airport as a business on behalf of Carroll County for the expansion of our business that we have done out there. And the purpose of me standing before you, and I'm glad Sheriff Hewitt brought up dispatch liability, is insurance and coverages that we are finding out as any business expands. You start dealing in insurance liability and exposures. Where we stand exactly with the general liability that the county has versus the liability coverages needed at the airport for specific aviation-related instances. We found out that through AAC, the county as it stands now, dispatch liability would be under this. The county carries a $500,000 per incident general liability contract with a $750,000 per occurrence annual maximum. That, when you look in the overall scheme of things, especially if we would do a wrongful, if you lose a patient or something like that, or if an incident would happen at the airport, is not a lot of liability coverage. So basically, anything in excess of those would be coming back upon the county for that. With the expansion of the airport, we've had 2 specific areas. The one of utmost importance, and the second would be a fantastic service, not only for the airport, but for the people of Carroll County. We found out as we're doing increasing sales through our fuel system, through our fuel farm, we're almost up to 30,000 gallons this year, which doubles what we did last year and quadruples what we had done 2 years before. So you can see that the increase is proportionally going. I would imagine within the next 3 to 4 years we'll be at 75 to 100,000 gallons a year of aviation fuel being pumped. Our fuel farm, according to AAC, is specifically not covered in any way, shape, or form by the general liability that Carroll County has. That is a tremendous exposure. So upon that, Sheila Evans, our airport general manager, did a vast search of carriers to see what it would cost to put a general liability policy on that would cover our specific aviation-related activities. AAC currently covers all of our property, our buildings and everything that is out there. And we have done reevaluation and asset management on those to bring those pretty much in line. We still have a little bit that we need to do. We found out that a $1 million general liability policy out there, our best premium we came was $2,322 a year, which the Airport Commission approved and paid for out of its matching funds account. The reason we want to do this the reason we did this is because we have 2 factors coming up. We are and have voted to become branded. Now, what that means is that we are going to be servicing and selling Shell aviation products, fuel products, and oil products back through the airport. Branding has a huge advantage whenever you're dealing with it. Number one, up to this point, we have dealt with, we have been unbranded, meaning that we would go to several vendors and literally go to the lowest cost to try to purchase the fuel to come in. Now, keep in mind that we have a 10,000 gallon tank out there with an 8,000 gallon capacity. Expansion and stuff allows us only to put $8,000 in there. Up to this point, we have not had the funding to be able to purchase 8,000 gallons of fuel, because at this point we're talking literally $30,000 to $35,000 to put full in there. So we've been having to piecemeal this out and find other carriers that will allow us to come in and buy 2,000 or 3,000 gallons of fuel at a time. We've been working diligently to get this asset base built up at our fuel farm, and we are almost there. With that, if we get a bad load of fuel, there is no coverage whatsoever. If it's a contaminated batch of fuel of 3,000 gallons that cost us $16,000, we eat that $16,000 because we have to dispose of that fuel, plus the disposal cost of the fuel. Branding takes care of that. If we do get a bad load of fuel, it doesn't. Also, by going with Shell, we get a $50 million overriding general liability policy on top of our million. So, down the line, and I'm always looking future as the business expands, we do manage to get a longer runway where we can get jets covered by insurance in and out of here. And we have a $15 million jet sitting at the pump, or having one of our trucks go out to that, and there's an incident that occurs, we've got up to $50 million worth of coverage at that point, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Shell is also going to work with us on promotion of the airport. I'm not going to take up your time with all of that, but they've actually are going to give us $3,500 to help with an awning cover over it, as well as give us advice on how to expand our airport facilities and advertising through various media that they have access to. Another big thing is by going branded, meaning that as we expand and when we do need Jet A fuel, kerosene for jets that come in, they have trucks that are available and are willing to work with us on a cost per gallon basis. So that means we don't have to come to you guys and say we need $150,000 for a truck. They will work with us off of a cost basis on that side. The point, the second point that we're doing with this is Enterprise Rent-A-Car has actually approached us and would like to put a small facility at our airport. Now that is phenomenal. We currently have got 3 rental cars out there. Enterprise has the foresight to see what's going on at the airport and would like to have that over here. We are currently a drop-off point for the Harrison rent-a-cars. So if anybody needs to rent a car, call Harrison, they'll bring it to the airport, and you can pick it up at the airport currently. However, they require to have a facility there, a $1 million general liability policy, which we now have enforced that would cover that. So basically, it was just the purpose of an update to give you guys an idea. We will be seeking sponsorship for an ordinance to cover the $2,300. Reason for that is we don't have it in our budget currently. We will be budgeting for that next year and seeing if we can get that approved. We took the $2,300 out of our matching funds account, or our grant account, which means that that's $2,300 that we don't have to fund toward a 90-10 grant. So in essence, this $2,300 is costing $23,000 coming back into the airport for construction and improvements that we have. So we will be seeking sponsorship for an ordinance to see if we can recoup this cost. But the purpose here was to give you an idea of what we're doing and how the business is expanding out there. Numbers are just going through exponentially. We'd love to have you guys come out on the 21st. We want to bait you. Bottom line, we want to feed you. Come on out and see what it's done. We just put in a brand new sprinkler system out there, which is another factor that's going on. We got a $9,000 sprinkler system for $1,500 because all the guys at the airport pitched in and we dug ditches all last Saturday until we all bled. But anyway, we've got that going on and we're running. I'll entertain any questions if you have at this point, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on where we were standing. I'm sorry.
Dan?
Dave, when you refuel an airplane out there, are folks trained on the grounding requirements and safety to do that?
Excellent question. From a general liability standpoint, since we are not an FBO, we cannot assist an airplane and a pilot fueling that aircraft in any way, shape, or form. We do not have signage up there stipulating you need to ground your aircraft to make sure everything is taken care of. However, on the payment system, it does not allow you to pull fuel out of the tank until you answer yes that the aircraft is grounded. First thing you do is get the authorization for how many dollars or how many gallons, then it comes back and says is the aircraft grounded. If you hit no, it shuts everything down automatically. So if you Yes, it's done, but we don't have a specific procedure list. That's an airport, a pilot responsibility to do that. Technically, we are not allowed at this point to go out there and help fuel an airplane. We can stand and chat with them and bring the ladder out to them and do everything like that. But physically ground the airplane or fuel, we can't.
Follow up, is the fuel, farm, storage capacity, is that inspected on a regular basis?
Yes, it is. And being with Shell, we will go through a quality control check before Shell puts a gallon of fuel into that. And with that, we have maintenance agreements with them that we've been having to eat the full cost of that. At this point, we probably put $3,000 in the maintenance of that pump out there in the last 24 months.
Ron? Along the insurance line, I've had a little concern, and I talked to Lester and Sheila a little bit about it. I just want to make sure we're covered. We had the donation or the loan of those little models that are very valuable.
Yes.
Are they insured? Do we have insurance coverage on those? If something happens and we lose them, my understanding is that we have the ownership, so it's our loss. The people who donated them have no more claim to them. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, and that's it. Ron, I don't know, and forgive me for my ignorance on this, if there's an insurance committee that is set up. Since I've been in the insurance business since Moby Dick was a minnow, I would highly recommend, because I've got a copy of the coverages, auto coverages and everything here, highly recommend reviewing that post haste, because as it stands from that, the auto coverages that we have for our county vehicles, according to this, what I'm looking at here, is state minimum, guys. 25,000 bodily injury, 50,000 aggregate for accident, and 25,000 on a vehicle, which is astronomically low. So to answer your question, we have had estimates that come back, formal appraisals, that model, and we have not taken possession of that yet, is somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000. That collection will need to be specifically endorsed through an appraisal through AAC onto our contractual.
Yeah, that's basically my concern. I didn't know the total value, but I've been told they were very valuable, and I want to be sure when we take possession of them and have them out there that we have coverage, especially if we don't have full ownership. If we have full ownership, it's our loss if we lose them.
We will have full ownership on that donation. That lady has been incredibly kind to the airport and very patient in us trying to get all of our ducks in a row, getting this put together. But that is a viable question. Thank you.
Okay, and I agree with you. We need to take a hard look at our insurance situation around the county for everything.
I may be mistaken, but in terms of vehicle insurance, we have tort immunity.
Yes.
And our only obligation is to carry the insurance level that is required by the state, which is the state minimum.
Okay.
That's all that we have to carry.
Okay. Tort immunity is a subject that can go on forever as far as decisions that run to that. Don't even want to open that can of worms. I just put my 2 cents in from an insurance standpoint from looking at that. I understand tort immunity totally.
Anyone else?
Gentlemen, thank you very much, and we hope to see you on the 21st. We will have some good day.
Thanks, Dave.
Next item of business is Terry Hankins, M5.
Thank you very much. Mine will be not nearly as in-depth as what these other folks are having issues to deal with. I'm Terry Hankins with Insight. We're a company located over in Springdale, Arkansas. We service accounts all over the United States. What we do is we help organizations, whether for-profit, non-profit, county government, city government, cities, we help them control their telephone costs. Ours, we don't care what company you have it with, we don't care what phone system you have, we don't care anything about that. What we care about is when the wire comes through the wall, what are they charging you for? Our research shows that 98% of all organizations are overpaying for the telephone expense. They're overpaying anywhere from 10% to 70%. And our average savings is about 31%. We service mom and pop shops, we service Fortune 100 companies. So what we do is we offer the only service I know where we will allow you, if you will allow us to help you, we'll become your telecommunications department. We'll take your phone bills and do a third-party audit list out what you're paying for, what it's costing you, and then turn around and on the next column show you what that carrier's best rate is and what you should be paying for it. And then we'll show you another carrier. If there's another carrier that can provide a better service at even a cheaper price, we show you that. In the event we come back and show you savings, we can show you what we project your savings to be. We'll guarantee you that savings. In the 12 years we've been open, we've only missed our estimate of what you're going to save 2 times, both by a slim margin, and we refund any difference that's there. The way you pay us, you don't pay anything for that audit, you don't pay anything for that review, and then when we come back and if you decide you want to use our services, then what we do a contract with you and we will work out a percentage where we take a portion of your savings for that year. We become your telecommunications department if you're having trouble, need a new line put in, you're out of service. Instead of your staff in your particular department or in the courthouse having to deal with it, you call and say, hey, line's out at such and so, I need help. And we start taking care of that for you. I walked in the office one day, had a customer that called, the lady that started our business, the owner of the business. I said, so-and-so called and said that they couldn't get service on what they needed. She said, just a minute. She called the supervisor of the phone company at home, and he answered the phone. It was after 5 o'clock, and she said, hey, I've got an outage at such and so. I've already spoke to you, and you haven't gotten it resolved. He said, well, I'm home in bed with the flu. She said, I'm sorry you're in bed with the flu, but I need the phone fixed. And he said, I'll get a person out today. As soon as I hang up, they'll be out there and get it repaired. Had another entity we made a proposal for, and the guy happened to be a lawyer. He said, I can do as well as you can on that negotiations. You let me handle that. He wasn't going to hire us. So he called and did it. He wasn't able to get the pricing that we guaranteed, but he did mess it up enough that they flagged his account. So when he did hire us, we couldn't get some of the things because he had already messed it up. So a lot of people think they can out